Hello, Jodie here, coming to you from the lakeside. Just having a little walk this morning, and I thought I'd do a little video about something that keeps cropping up with Edtech clients, and it's something that I have to kind of talk about a lot with them, so I think it's something that's worth getting the message out to more people about. And it's to do with the perils of only listening to your customers, i.e. the schools and the teachers. Now obviously I'm not saying don't listen to your teachers and your customers. You do want to do that a lot, and listening to them and building your developments around them. Of course you do. You need to know what their workflow is, you need to know what their needs are. But something that's coming up more and more is assessment being built into more and more EdTech tools of some kind or another. So whether you're deliberately doing assessment because that's part of your thing, or because of what customers are asking for, you're adding bits of assessment, some sort of dashboard of data. Now, as soon as you get into a dashboard of data, of course, there's the likelihood that you're going to draw from an MIS system and sync with it so that it's easier for people to sign up. And as soon as you do that, of course, you're in a whole world of data protection, data privacy, GDPR, whatever you want to, whichever words that kind of go ding 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 above your head when you're thinking about data, and hopefully you're planning really carefully how to make that system really secure because you've got all of that data in it. But also you're likely going to follow your teachers' customers' lead on what they want within that dashboard. So you might start by just telling them how often a pupil's logging in to play the maths games or do the reading app or whatever it might be that you're offering. And maybe you didn't intend to do assessment, but gradually they're saying, oh, it'd be really handy if we could see how often they're logging in. It'd be good if we could see the results of their quizzes that they're taking on the platform. It'd be good if we can then start to break that down by girls versus boys, or year 3 versus year 4. And then you start getting into vulnerable groupings where they might say, we want to be able to filter the data. And as soon as you start filtering the data, you're going to pull columns from their MIS that have very sensitive data in. Now the assumption at this point is to make that available once the filters are there for all staff. Often you've only got 2 types of user, a child account and a staff account, which you might call teacher, but essentially a school's using that for teaching assistants and anyone else who's got access to the system for the sake of looking at pupil data. So all of the SLT, all of the teachers, all of the teaching assistants have now got all staff teacher logins. Now the problem with that comes with any data, of course, because then suddenly they can filter children all over the school, even though there is a part of data protection that's around what do you actually need. And not every teacher needs to see all of the data for every child, especially when you come to sensitive data such as ethnicity and, really importantly, looked after children. So the LAC filter, looked after children, is asked for because they want to see how the LAC children are doing versus the rest of the cohort, because that's what they're asked for. When Ofsted, Ofsted won't ask to see that graph, but they'll ask them to be aware of how they're doing and so on. So they use that data, hopefully in all the right ways. However, only certain people should have access to who the looked after children are in a school, and it shouldn't be every single member of staff as general best practice. Now, yes, these people have been DBS checked. Yes, of course, the vast majority are going to work in absolutely the best way for every child and wouldn't go around looking up data they don't need. But as soon as you've got every member of staff, every supply teacher, every student teacher who comes on a week placement is being given access to a system that you've added looked after children into, so they can all see who the looked after children are, and all the other filters. Looked after children is kind of one of the big, like, woo woo, red warning sign, but all of that data isn't everyone's business. Your child's ethnicity is not everyone else's business. That should be kept to just certain members of staff who have access to that data because they need it to do what they need to do for that child, whether that's getting the funding or whatever it is. But they do not need to know whether that child's done reading or not, and so on, based on whether they're looked after. So be very careful about who you're giving access to when you get filters. You may have to, if you're going to add these filters, you may have to do another piece of dev and create a different user account that is the only user accounts that can drill down that far to see who is what. Now you might be able to do it in an anonymous way, so okay, say there's 3% looked after children, they can see that 3% versus everyone else, but they can't see who it is. but more times than not I see it that they can see who the children are. So as soon as there's a bit where anyone who's staff can log in and go in and click and see who's a looked after child by going through a few little things on their dashboard, that is a problem, and it needs to be considered. So yes, listen to your teachers about they want to be able to do this data. A head teacher is going to want that data, but does every member of staff, including supply staff, including student teachers and all the people who are likely going to be given a login to the system as a staff account, do they all need it? The answer predominantly is no. So you may need another user account. So just something to consider from a GDPR point of view, from a protecting, safeguarding point of view. Think about which of those filters are relevant to all staff. Okay, so bit of a worrying one today, but I think it's really important this gets out there, that we do not just allow all staff access to every bit of a child's data, every bit of that. You know, I've seen children's addresses, phone numbers, parents' details going to members of staff, some of whom are parents of other kids in the school. It's just not appropriate. Really think about who needs access and make sure the schools are aware who gets access to that data so that they can be careful on who they give an account to. If they know that that person can get access to looked after children when they're just thinking, oh, I'll let them on the maths app or the reading app or whatever it is, when they know that the access is there to see who the looked after children are, what ethnicity children are, their addresses, their phone numbers, their parents' details, they will be careful on who to give an account to. So if you're not making a specific account, at least make sure in your training, your onboarding, your help files, that head teachers are aware of who can see what. It's really, really important. 99.9% of the time, never going to be a problem, but that 0.1% of a chance or 0.0001% of a chance is a child who is no longer safe, and that is important. Okay, so I'll leave that with you and take care. Bye.